last week's spring practice. I guess, how did you feel you guys did leading into spring after tour of duty, and where do you guys feel you're at right now?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of new things just coming with the new coaching staff, but just the progression and the process of the coaches, pouring into us and teaching us this new scheme. I think we came a long way, and I think we're just everybody learning. No matter how old you are, how young you are, it's something new to everybody, and I feel like that's bringing everybody together in different ways we couldn't really imagine. But I do appreciate that process. I do appreciate this new scheme and what it's doing for us. And yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge, I guess, for you guys on defense, learning, getting comfortable?
Uh, I'd say just the transition from a lot of last year was a lot of man, I would say. So just it's a lot more pieces to it. Like you just more have to be a lot really more in tune to what's going on, like the whole field and schematically wise. So just being able to know what you have and know what other people have, just that itself will allow you to make plays in this defense.
What looks or feels different about the way you guys are playing right now, would you say?
The intensity from the players to the coaches, that's one of the things, Coach Norvell is putting a huge emphasis on, just the intensity from practice as far as just, taking the field, coming off the field, little things like that will pour into, like, big time into what we're trying to do this year.
Was there something you guys like? Did you feel like you played 100% last year, or is there something that Coach White is getting out of you and your teammates that you feel like is a little bit maybe more than what you guys put on the field last year?
That's definitely one of the things I realized and noticed and took part of. Not even just Coach White, my safeties Coach Coop. Like every day is a challenge. Every day is something we have to work on. It's an agenda of what we can be better on, because you're never going to be, the best player out there. Well, that's the goal, to be the best player out there, but nobody's perfect. So every day is always something to get better at, something to learn, something new to learn, and just taking those steps day by day. That's really what spring is for, to learn what you can do, learn new things, learn the scheme, and just be able to broadcast that and transfer that into the summer and the fall.
What's this guy been like?
He's a good kid. He stepped up, surprised all of us in the defensive back room. He made a lot of plays, and we kind of expected him to do that, but it's one.
True freshman come out here and make plays on you?
We did our research, but it's one thing to expect something. It's another thing to actually expect something and to see it every day. And he's definitely one of those younger kids that's come in and put their head down, and just work. Not really the loudest kid, doesn't really talk much, but he does what he needs to do.
He's not the biggest or the fastest
either, but
so what about are there some guys that are just naturally able to get open and make plays,
and
he's
one of those, and he just does what the coaches tell him to do, and just doing that itself will set you apart from a lot of players. And you have that, being able to be a coachable kid, and you just apply that with your God-given talent. You take those two together, you got that right there. He's just making plays, so I can't wait to see him on Saturdays.
Who have been some of the maybe younger DBs? And I know you're a young one too, still relatively.
Yeah.
But some of the younger DBs or just younger defenders in general that have kind of stepped up that you think could have a really good career here.
I do like Duty. I think he's a really good. He has a couple more steps to take, but once he gets there, he's going to be a really good player. But Kai Bates, I really been high on him. Sometimes we're going out there together, so just seeing him. He's also another quiet one, so being able to hear him talk and communicate on the field and just express himself, whether that's in the field of play or off the field, I'm just excited to see him grow and see what he can bring to the table.
Coach is calling it a good back and forth date. Do you think you guys are confusing them enough with the way Coach White likes to do things from kind of all crazy?
As far as play calling wise?
Yeah, do you think you're giving the offensive looks that they're like?
Oh, absolutely. Like every day after practice, they're coming back and telling us, bro, like I hate y'all. Like, what are y'all doing? I'm like, you're going to hate us. Like, you're going to appreciate that on Saturdays. But even myself, I try and just explore with it and give different looks, disguise different things, just kind of play around with it to see what works and what doesn't work. But I do like the flexibility he gives us to just play around, play with eyes, and just be able to make different plays on the ball.
Does that also go with like you can fake like you're blitzing?
Exactly.
And act like you're not blitzing?
Exactly.
Like, how important is that? And does he tell y'all how to do that, or is that just you feel it out on your own? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he can tell you to do it, but it's also a feeling like you don't want to let it take you out your assignment. So you don't want to be showing like you're blitzing and you got to cover this guy. Now you get stuck in the blitz. But when you can, once you get a feel down, because like me, I don't like to go out there first couple series and just start guessing. I just like to get a feel for the cadence of what they're trying to do, and then after that, once you get a feel of what they're doing, that allows you to make plays and coming out the next series, and that's when I start walking around, showing like I'm blitzing, or maybe showing like I'm in coverage, then go blitz. And a lot of times, like, I'm messing them up. I'll mess around and get the quarterbacks to slide the whole protection to me the whole time. I'm not even coming, and then I'll leave backside open. So just like I said, that allows everybody to make plays, and knowing what you're doing and what you have, what assignment you have on the field, that allows everybody else to make plays.
It sounds fun.
It is.
Is it?
It is, and just the energy the coaches bring to us. That's why I love the defense so much, because if the coaches are having a good time, they're just going to pour it down to us, and then half the time it's us leading the way and our energy rubbing off on the coaches. So if we're all, high on energy, high energy all day, it even rubs off on the offense too. So now that's when you have that back-to-back series going. So everybody's just out there making plays, high energy, emotional, but controlled emotions. And, if we continue to have more plays like that, more practices like this today, like a back-to-back day, good on good, iron sharp as iron, I do think this team will go a far way, a very long way.
A couple more.
It feels like if you were a defensive coach, you
Mhm.
probably want to run a system like this, right? Like make
Yeah.
it confusing, but like not everybody runs it.
Exactly.
Is it tough to teach and learn? It doesn't feel like, or do you need like a certain type of athlete, and you guys have it here to be able to run it effectively?
I feel like they do a good job of teaching this scheme. Sometimes it can be challenging just from what we're all used to. But like I said, spring, this is where you learn, and trial and error. This is what you figure out what you're good at and what certain people can do. Because like at first I started off in the boundary. Now I'm somebody who can play in the field and in the boundary at my size, and things like that. And, if you can be able to do that, take different guys and put them around in different positions, and they know what they're doing. Of course that comes from the coaches, but once you can do that, you can do a lot of good things, not just defensively, but in the defensive back room, having guys play in different positions, get some younger guys on the field to make plays too.
We good?
Thanks, KJ.
Of course, thank y'all.